Okay, so we'll slowly make a start. I'll introduce our speakers as well as talk through the format of today. So we've got two speakers for you. We've got Sara Garavelli, who will be talking on the EOSC Federation level developments, and she also sits on the EOSC Board of Directors. Then we have Jessica Parland-von Essen, who is the coordinator of the EOSC Finland pilot node. So that will give us a look into the developments with EOSC Finland specifically, of where we are and what our plans are for this coming year. I ask that you keep your questions until both presentations are done, but you are welcome to put the questions into the chat as we go. So if a question comes to you, feel free to put it in the chat and we'll come to it at the end, or you can save your questions until the very end. We will record the presentations, but after both presentations are done, we will stop the recording before we move on to the Q&A as well. If there are any audio issues or something like this as we go on, please alert us in the chat if you are experiencing anything like that, and we will deal with it. Okay, so that's all from me. So it is my pleasure to hand it over to Sara.
Thank you very much, Ulrika, for the introduction, and I hope you can hear me well, and I'm just sharing my slides, and I hope you can see them properly. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So what I'll try to do in this first part of the webinar is to present a bit what EOSC has done in 2025 and what are the plans for 2026. And I have organized the presentation according to three main topical areas that are those that are, let's say, more in focus for 2026 in particular. One is the EOSC Federation. The second area is the future of EOSC after 2027. As you probably know, EOSC is a partnership that has the duration of the Horizon Europe program. So what's happening after Horizon Europe? And then a few updates from the EOSC Association. Let's start with the EOSC Federation. As you probably have heard already, 2025 was a very important milestone for EOSC because the EOSC Federation was officially launched at the symposium in November. So the EOSC Federation is a system of systems composed by different nodes. At the moment, there are 13 nodes plus the EOSC EU node that are part of this prototype federation. And you see the types of nodes that are currently engaged in the EOSC Federation. Some are national, some are thematics on the slide. And these nodes have been working, and they are still working on federating many services, but also research product catalogs. And the federation is growing in terms of resources available. During what was called the build-up phase, so the activities that were done in 2025 with this initial set of nodes have been working on some multi-node use cases. And on this slide, you have the list of the use cases that have been worked on so far. And these use cases have been used a bit also as a playground to understand the capabilities and also the potential of the federation. The work of the nodes also helped to start better defining some policies for the EOSC Federation. Policies are not totally defined yet, but there is a handbook that is a starting point. And also the experiences of the nodes will be captured in a revision of the handbook that will be soon published. What are the next steps? So there are three main areas of focus for the EOSC Federation evolution in 2026. So on this slide, you see what the Federation achieved in green in 2025. And you see that there are several nodes, there are operational governance, organizational structure in place, federating capabilities, but still you see in yellow, work needs to be done on interoperability framework. So this will be one of the priorities for next year. From a user perspective, at the moment, user can access resources via single sign-on and a common catalog, but still there is still work on use a virtual research environment or access fair machine actionable research datasets. This is still work in progress. And also so far, let's say, as I already mentioned, there was some work on policies for the Federation. Just put this slide to remind us that also the European Commission is fully committed to support the Federation. And the director of the GRTD, Marc Lemaitre, at the EOSC Symposium highlighted how important it is to keep the momentum, okay? And the Commission is fully supportive of this endeavor. So they really want to see progress in the next years and the evolution of the Federation. So let's focus now on 2026. Three main priority areas for the Federation. One is setting up an operational structure. I mentioned earlier that there are, or the build-up phase was used to test some organizational structures. There are MOUs that have been signed by the nodes that, let's say, they are not legally binding documents, but they really serve to, first of all, lock the commitment of the nodes for a certain period, and also to certain rules of participation in the Federation. And also from an operational perspective, there will be further work on federating capabilities. As you probably know, currently the nodes are connected mainly through the AI, authentication and authorization, and there is this Federation of Catalogs, but help desk, service monitoring, management systems, those have been identified as the next steps in terms of implementation of federating capabilities for the upcoming years. That's about, let's say, the governance and operational structure of the Federation. The second very important point is the transition to production. I mentioned earlier that the Federation is in prototype mode. 2026 should be the year when we move to production. And in order to do that, some legal governance, operational, and engagement requirements needs to be established. Last but not least, and actually very important, so those 14 current nodes, they don't make the Federation. So the Federation needs to grow, and that's why in 2026 there will be activities to expand the EOSC Federation. So we will be talking about enrollment of nodes and onboarding of resources and use cases. And in order to support the expansion, there are several instruments that will be used, including some cascading grants of the EOS Gravity project, but also the new projects that will be funded as a result of the Infra EOSC 101 call. Probably you are aware of these grants already, but the deadline for submission is the 18th of February. So this is just a reminder that there is the possibility to apply for some funding to support, for example, onboarding on resources into nodes or use cases. So this is a way for expanding the Federation. I move now to the next topic, that is what's happening after the end of Horizon Europe. I put this slide here just to pass the message that in 2025 in particular, but also before, the EOSC tripartite governance has been working together really closely. Okay, so this was really a good endeavor, and this also prepared the sort of requirements for a potential new governance. So it's really essential to have all the stakeholders, European Commission, member states, and the community around the table to have things moving on. And this is why this tripartite group, so we call stakeholders from Commission, Member States, and EOSC Association, have been working also in bi-weekly meetings together. And this group assumed the role of oversight for the EOSC Federation to make sure that the EOSC Federation is proceeding in the right way, that the policies are established and so on. But also this group will be also the key one to start reflecting on what is the framework for EOSC in the next FP10 program. And coming to that, a decision on the future governance and funding framework for EOSC is expected by the end of 2026. This is why this year is very critical for the future of EOSC, because this year the Parliament and the European Council are working on setting up the portfolio of partnerships that then will be part of FP10. So if EOSC would like to secure a sustainable future after Horizon Europe, it would be great to secure a partnership in the next FP10. And the European Commission has decided that the current model of partnership, that is called co-program partnership, is not carried forward in FP10. And this is why we need to think about a new governance and funding solution for EOSC. So we need to think about a model that will be part of FP10 portfolio of models that can be adopted by EOSC. In order to reach that point where we will understand better the model, the EOSC Association will engage the community, so there will be a consultation in February and March, with the idea to reach a common position, at least the position of the EOSC Association on the future. And after that, the EOSC Association will have an instrument to advocate for this position. I just would like you to remember that the decision about partnership is taken by the European Parliament. So even if the Association United says, yes, we would like this model, but the member states, the Parliament are not on board, that's not going to be possible, okay? So, but the work that the EOSC Association is trying to steer in collaboration with the European Commission and the member states is really to try and understand which one could be the best model for the future. And there are three options that we know on the table. So the first option is called the work program-based partnership. Okay, so I'm not going to enter into the details of this because there will be a consultation also about this model. But just so that you understand, so this partnership, it means that there are some partners responsible for the funding and the governance of the partnership. The usual partners are European Commission and the member states where it comes to funding, but there could be, it seems, also third partners that, for example, could be the community and the EOSC Association. So this is a funding model that's foreseen co-funding from both Commission and member states. The second option is joint undertaking. So there will be still possible to have joint undertaking in FP10. Probably many of you are familiar with the EuroHPC joint undertaking. That's the, let's say, the classic example to have a reference model in that direction. Or it's also possible that there is no partnership for EOSC. What does that mean? It means that if there is no partnership, we are going to lose all, let's say, the coordination work and steering work that has been done so far by the tripartite and the EOSC Association. Because no partnership means that the European Commission most likely will negotiate a budget for EOSC-related topics every year when the program needs to be published. And the implementation will be left in the hands of projects. But there won't be, let's say, a centralized point for coordination of the federation or many other things. So that's, let's say, the less desired scenario, also because this means that it doesn't have a secure budget for the future. Just to tell you that these discussions have been started also with the member states' engagement. There was a tripartite event in Copenhagen, and the result of that preliminary discussion was it seems that the member states, they do see positively a partnership, which is a very good signal for the entire EOSC ecosystem. I move now to the third topic, that is more some news from the EOSC Association and activities that will be happening in 2026. So first of all, for those that are not members of the EOSC Association, the EOSC Association has nowadays roughly 258 members, and you see it's quite steady participation, and you see the difference between members and observer. There is a new leadership in 2026 because 3 directors ended their mandates, and the new 3 directors that have been elected in December are Enrique Bernal Delgado, Antje Kepler, and Jessica Lindvall. So, and you see also the respective mandates, okay? So that's the new composition of the board. The EOSC Association task forces have kept working. In particular, the task force on technical and semantic interoperability has been crucial for releasing some requirements and documents related to the AI and the semantic interoperability that have also been adopted by the EOSC Federation. There is a task force on long-term data retention that also provided, let's say, research about long-term data retention frameworks, and the work is still ongoing. There is a task force on fair matrix and digital objects, and also there are planned some release of documents in 2026. And last but not least, there is also a health data task force that in particular is working closely with the European health data space, trying to understand what could be the requirements from EOSC towards the HDS. We are considering potential new task forces at the end of 26 because all these task forces should end by that date. But the consideration for the future task forces is that they really have to match the needs of the federation, because it would be great to have experts really contributing to the evolution of the federation. So that's what will be considered when we will be discussing new task forces. Another important development that is happening in spring is the development of the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda, the SRIA 2.0. So there is already version 1 that was, I think, created at the very beginning of the tripartite partnership, so at least 4 years ago. It has been slightly updated with the roadmap, but this year was essential to renew the SRIA, also because all the partnerships that want to have a chance in FP10, they need to show a long-term vision with clear objectives and criteria. That's why the association undertook this activity now with the Commission to update the SRIA. Because of course in the SRIA, as you see now, I put on the slide the table of content, especially the chapter on the landscape, gaps, trends, and challenges. That's outdated in the current version. And that's really what we need to define for the future, together with the strategic priorities. There is a consultation that is currently open. I put the link there on the slide, so you will be able to check it out. The consultation is in a very short term, so the deadline is already the end of the month. But it's also quite, let's say, easy to respond to the consultation. I also put on the slide for information what will be the next steps in relation to the SRIA finalization, so that you have them at hand. I also want to mention that there is a new thing that you will see appearing in the EOSC ecosystem this year, which is called EOSC Academy. So this is an initiative steered by the EOSC Association, and it's work in the context of one of the projects that the EOSC Association is coordinating, EOSC Gravity. And the idea is that the Academy should promote mutual learning, knowledge sharing, and capacity building in the EOSC ecosystem. The concept is still under shaping, okay? But this is something that you will hear about next year. I'm reaching the end of my presentation. I just want to point out a couple of events for this year. So the first one is the General Assembly of the EOSC Association. It's going to be on the 28th and 29th of May in Brussels. So this is for the members and the observers of the EOSC Association. But this will be a very important moment because there will be a vote to adopt the position paper of the EOSC Association, thus the community, about the future of EOSC. And last but not least, there will be an EOSC symposium. I think that the dates have not been announced yet, but I can spoiler them just for the Finnish community, so keep that to yourself. It's going to be in mid-October, and it's going to be in Italy, And I don't think that the location has been spoiled yet, so I'm gonna keep that for myself for now. So there is a little bit of suspense for 2026. But that closed my presentation, and I'm happy to take questions after Jessica talk.
Okay. Oh.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Okay, I muted you. You're fine. Okay. Okay, so brilliant. So we'll move on. So if you have questions for Sara, please keep them until the end, or you can already also put them in the chat already, and we'll get to them after Jessica's presentation. So over to you, Jessica.
Okay, thanks. So I'm focusing more now on the national node and the national level here. So just a quick overlook. We've gone through these also now during last year in our webinars. So that not necessarily not many news except then for the planning of the next year, but this year actually. Yeah, but as you know, we have our pilot node up and running, which is a very basic proof of concept, which you can. We are happy, of course, if you can visit and comment. We are developing it. Currently, it's mostly just a website where we have collected a lot of stuff, but then there are things happening underneath or have happened, which I will mention soon. I think one of the important things we did last year was the agreeing on this policy governance for this pilot node. And what makes me very happy is that it's so tightly now need to do both the open science and research collaboration and the research data management reference architecture work. So for building this community, which I think we should see the EOSC Finland as, we have formed this EOSC working group in the open science collaboration under the data expert group. And in this group, we are currently discussing the policies for onboarding and what kind of different collaboration we could have. How could you onboard services or data sources or other resources to this node, and then further on into the EOSC Federation. So CSC is only the core, offers only the core capabilities, but of course we have these very good national services that make a really nice base for this node. And then we have the collaboration with the UTF committee that is manages the reference architecture for research data management. So this is also largely on the national level an implementation project for this reference architecture. So if we look at the node, really in practice, the aim is now to federate existing services and not to build new interfaces for the researchers, new places to go to, new service components, but rather make the existing infrastructure more user-centric and then federate that also on the international level. So currently, the node consists of the different service components, and we are now in the process of productizing this node. So we have the website, which is actually part of the research.csc.fi service. Then there we have also the instance of the service catalog. there will be a separate instance of the MyCSC user space for when we go into production with the Federation later this year. Then we have catalogs, already existing catalogs that we are integrating into this node. Currently, they are only links, and we'll see how to go about with that in the future to make it easy for the users. Rather, I think that we would like to actually integrate these services and the whole metadata node on a deeper level to support the researchers' workflows and processes. Then the Research Data Management Competence Center is part of the node, and we have also this dataset as a service concept, which is now implemented actually in Metax, in the Fair Data Services. And then we have these hidden parts underneath, even more hidden parts, like our authentication and authorization services at CSC, and on the EOSC level also we have this whole complicated architecture, and then we have the metadata service Metax, which is also partly sort of hidden. So regarding there are two levels of the federations, two like core things that Sara also mentioned, like the AAI, the user management and access management, and it's based in EOSC on the My Access ID, which is on top of the EduGain system. And this means that we have thought about this like in the manner that we have, as we already have this very nice Haka Federation in Finland, that this would be sort of the minimal requirement for national federation, and then adding the My Access ID level there for CSC services, for the core services now is what we are focusing on now first, and then we need to look at and think about how onboarded services, how this federation with the EOSC is best done. This is not quite clear on EOSC level either. Then regarding the catalogs, we have a sort of a proof of concept catalog which includes the CSC services and also some services from the EOSC Federation. In practice, that's the EU node services, and then in the future we can also bring services from the research.fi, which has information about infrastructure services. The point here is that this is sort of a logical, like data resource that's distributed, and we all these have a sort of a bit of a different scope, and you can then fetch copy data the way how you like, and the like focus and concept for the EOSC pilot node catalog is that the end user would there see services that they can really access and use that are available for them in Finland or from the EOSC Federation on an international level. Regarding the dataset as a service, this is an endeavor to really try to bring research data management into the computing environments, and this is something what we are doing in response to the request for really AI-ready data and more responsible data, which means that you also need to have data management in the computing environments. So trying to build this metadata management and ecosystem, but sort of a dataset as a service is part of this. So you would be able to publish metadata that you have, for instance, in object storage, or now currently upcoming Roihu, so that this data can be shared and managed. And this is a concept that we are developing in close collaboration with the Lumi AI Factory. So We are currently reorganizing, or from the February 1st, we are reorganizing at CSC a bit. And as part of this reorganization, we will be having a new group that's mostly dedicating to working with these federation questions. So I think this is really nice. We get more people and more hands and eyes and ears here at CSC working more tightly together. But still, the EOSC Federation itself and the federation is, of course, something that concerns everything, all services here, and hopefully as many services as possible also outside CSC, so that we can really help this DAHA implementation and the user-centric approach. And as Sara told, also there will be some reorganizing done in the federation, on the federation level. And this is, of course, now still the information I had a few hours ago was then again a bit different. So it's still under development and under discussion what kind of working groups. But as you can see, there's a lot of specifications, requirements, policy work ongoing, and this takes quite a lot of time and resource. So on the EOSC level, things don't move very, very quick, and some things we can take forward, or they move very fast, but it's so huge and complicated. So some things we can take forward on a national level much quicker, which I think is really nice. So what we have been thinking about what we are doing here next year in this new group and in our collaborations. So what this new group has been discussing, what we would like to achieve and focus on. So one important thing is, of course, is going into production of the federation, which means that we need to have several nodes that are in production. We also need to have all this legal stuff set, but we also need to have these federations all like the AI stuff moved into the production. That shouldn't be, it should be possible. Then we have a target that we should do more multi-node use cases. So this is something we are looking for. We would like these to be very much research, like real research use cases. So if you happen to be familiar with any researcher who's struggling with some federating or interoperability questions, please be in touch. And let's see if we can turn those into use cases and try to solve them together. And this would then mean like really some other node, preferably in another country. Yeah, and as mentioned, the reference architecture work is really important, and we have this thinking that we should also bring really good. We have in the open science and research work, there has been really nice work done already regarding the information architecture. We have nice recommendations for data description and our description of research data, and for the service catalog data model and such PID policy stuff. This could also all be taken and made parts of the DAHA. So that would be nice, and and I'm looking forward to that, because then they would be sort of managed and somehow endorsed, not as like absolute requirements, but to have good, clear recommendations on national level is always helpful for interoperability. Then we will be working a lot with this onboarding, and this is something we really hope we can do together with the community, and we are doing. There will be the gravity calls. We are developing in the open science working group, which you can find behind the QR code. We are working on these policies for onboarding. What kind of resources, what's the definition, how do we describe them, what's the process, what's the like what kind of responsibilities and expectations what do we have there, and I would like to invite everybody who's interested in into this work. And then I hope we can get these like policies also formalized in the governance structure that I showed earlier. Yeah, and then there are ongoing EOSC projects in which CSC is involved, and there are possible new projects hopefully coming this year. So those are, of course, also relevant, and we really try to tie this work done there in the project so that it's we have a good collaboration and the information flows between the projects and the Federation, and the notes that we are doing the same things and supporting each other. So this were my thoughts at this point, but these are part of the plans for what we are doing or will be doing this year. So thank you on my behalf.
Okay, perfect. So thank you to both of our speakers, to Sara and Jessica as well. You are welcome to put any questions you might have in the chat, or you are also welcome to put your hand up if you'd like to ask in person. But we'll stop the recording here, and then any Q&A we'll do outside of the recording itself.